thank you for being here. I'm excited to tell you a little bit about what I do with regard to distance ed. But I put a spin on my presentation to focus a lot on assessment, so on the evaluation piece. And I'd be happy to talk a little bit about my course. Much of it's probably redundant with what Charlene and Catherine do. I'll probably go to it a little bit and just show you some of the elements that I incorporate to give you the background. So first I'm going to give you a little background on the course and the context it is, and then tell you how I've tried to build the course to build in assessment. Okay, and I know that's part of the octagon, so I'll refer to that too. So for my presentation, I wanted to give you the course background, overview the delivery methods. I've got 3 delivery methods, completely online, a hybrid option, and then a face-to-face option. How I plan the assessment approach and the sort of the approach that I've adapted, it's evolving, but sort of where I am now. And then how I measure the outcomes and the faculty reflection piece, which I think is so important. Okay, so I'm in the business school, which here we call the School of Management. Okay, the School of Management has several courses that all School of Management majors need to take, and they're within each of our business disciplines, so management, finance, accounting, etc. I'm in the management group, and so I'm responsible for Management 301, which every single School of Management major has to take. Okay, even people who aren't in the School of Management yet. So we have a lot of students. We have between 500 and 600 students every semester. Okay? It's the Management 301 course is about management, organizational behavior, essentially.
Undergraduate or graduate?
Undergrad, yep. Okay, so I got tired of standing on a stage in front of hundreds of people and thought, why are we all driving our cars here to sit next to people who are on their computer anyway and not really listening, and no one's engaging in an interactive environment? And I thought there may be a better way of doing this. So that was the origin of the hybrid model, which is what I do, where I record my lectures using Camtasia. And like Catherine, I actually go to the GMU TV to do my welcome video, and then that's it in terms of video. After that, so that I just basically walk them through the whole course and what all the requirements are. But then I do the voiceover with a Camtasia, and Camtasia allows for you to obviously not read your PowerPoint, but use your PowerPoint as an outline. But then if you say something, you know, that if I was a student I'd want to write down, I can have a little pop-up box in Camtasia come up where it has more of what I'm saying. You know, so it's like, oh, I want to take a note on that. They could pause it and actually read what I just said for some of the things. And then so those are the online lectures. I also have Camtasia allows you to do a little quick check your understanding kind of a quiz. So I might talk about something like, you know, affective commitment and normative commitment, organizational commitment. And after I talk about those 3 concepts, I might say, all right, let's try this scenario. You know, Judy doesn't want to leave her job because she really loves her coworkers. Which type of commitment is this? And then they have to click on a response. Now, none of that's recorded. I don't, you know, monitor any of that. But it is a way for them to, you know, interact and engage. And it stops them, and they have to think about it. And then it just says, yep, you're right, or something more eloquent than that. Or I think it just says, you're right, or no, please review. Or I'll just go on and say, no, keep listening, and then I'll explain why Judy had whatever kind of commitment. So that's one way to build in some interactivity with it. Okay, and then with a hybrid approach, I don't know if you're interested, but I also couple that then with an in-class recitation where I have a team of graduate students who do online in-person exercises and activities. Okay, is paparazzi done here? Extracting. All right, so the in-class part is where the graduate students actually, you know, run exercises and that kind of thing. So it's one element of face-to-face, and that's how we can do it in a way that's somewhat economical. We've got all of our graduate students doing these TA sessions in 35 student groups. And I design and all of those exercises for them and train them on how to do it. And so it's consistent across. But then we don't need a huge classroom for the lectures because that's online. The fully online approach, I use the same online lectures, but then instead of the in-person, face-to-face activities, I have to kind of try to recreate that online. So I do discussion questions, asking them to build from information that's in the book or the lecture, the readings, to answer the questions. Now I have them, Kathy presented there's 37 students. I had, I think, about that exact number, and ultimately we opened it to 40, but I think I ended up having like 37. But I put them in groups for their discussion, which is another layer of logistical complexity, but at least then they were within like just 6 people talking within their groups with each other. And then after the first half of the semester, I got to see who was really good and engaged in those discussions and who needed some modeling, and I mixed up the groups. And so then I had some stronger discussion participants with some weaker ones, so they could kind of see what we were trying to do here. And then they got to interact with different people. But I had the same written assignment and the same exams, whether they do online or not. Now, since you guys mentioned the question about exams, I'll talk to you about what I do. For the completely online version, at this point, I'm not to the point of wanting them to take it by themselves, because it's just, like for me, it's 60% of their grade, or 3 exams. I'm sorry, actually I do 2 exams, I do a midterm and a final, but it's 60% of their grade. So we do have them come to campus just to take those exams. We give them a time and a date ahead of time that says when they have to do it. But I have had students in different parts of the world or country, just a few, and what I've been able to do is with the help of our distance ed group here, we have a contract for a proctor, and we ask them to identify a proctor. I get an independent email, I get an independent website that tells me who this person is, and we have communication that doesn't involve the student a couple of times, and they sign the proctoring agreement by doing via email. And then I have an online testing. I use McGraw-Hill as my textbook, so they have an online testing tool that I can just send then the proctor the link, and they get the student to have it, and they're still in a proctored environment. They still can't use any other materials, so it's as close as I can get. Now, that takes a lot of time to deal with, so that's why I didn't want to deal with that with everybody, and most students are local, so they can come and deal with it. So I just deal with it on the as needed basis.
Is it the same thing, Kathy? Paige, that's
Yeah.
you're dealing with the summer semester as Kathy?
Yes, I did. I did the online. We do the online. Actually, now we do it every semester, but we do it in the summer too. We do the 5-week, exact same time she did.
Is it your decision to construct this course as online, or is the school decision?
Me. I'm still the only one in the School of Management who has any energy around doing this really online, really exploring online. So it's really been driven by my own interest.
Okay. Thank you.
That's going to change, or they're going to squash me, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, so
Is there a regulation in the university that students must attend some certain hours in classes?
for my course? No. You mean, is there a requirement that they have some element of face-to-face, or?
No, because in my program, it's the RN to BSN, they don't come on campus. We've had students who've asked, can we come? But they come with an associate's degree, they do 30 hours, 60 hours, well, whatever, the last 2 years with us, and so they don't ever, we may never see them.
Inside university, the student must attend at least 75%. Otherwise, you can't give them a. So I can't change it online, fully online, unless.
No, but that's which require attendance. But some of the courses, you don't have. For example, some of that you can give some of the activity as discussion.
Yeah, but they must attend at least 75.
That's the regular classes.
Of the regular class.
It's not.
Yeah,
It's not
no,
online.
I'm talking about that. She has the make own decision to make it online or offline.
Yeah, but it's not been easy. But I mean, there's debate about more strategically, do we want to go there as a school of management or not? And there's a divide, and it's coming. It's going to happen. It's just taking time. But, you know, right now, it's an efficient way of educating a lot of students in this core course. Yeah.
I think my feeling here is it's the teacher or the instructor decision to transfer the regular class into an online class.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true university-wide, and like I said, I did it, but it met with a lot of resistance. So it's not, but somebody else, one of my other colleagues is doing it now too, and teaching a business law class, so.
My unit is very open to it. Fine, you wanna do that, that's fine.
Yeah, see, mine has not been very open to it,
Mine's happening. It's coming.
so we'll get there.
You mentioned the resistance, and that's the resistance by the colleagues or by the school or by whom?
More colleagues. Yeah, I think the dean, and meanwhile, I've had a transition in deans.
Okay.
My original dean, when I did this, I went right to him and said, you know, this one, he said, absolutely, let's do this. I mean, he was supportive, and our new dean is mostly, he needs to understand we have to get in the online realm. He's more, so he's.
But initially, this was your own initiative?
Yes. Yep.
This is the case with, I believe, all the professors here?
Yeah.
And you suggested that to the administration, and they were excited about it?
No, actually, our administration was told us this is what we're going to do.
Okay, so
We
you
have a
follow
group
your-
of Saudi students, and we're going to, the original plan was to take nursing education into Saudi Arabia. But that's the partnership that didn't work, and then we just said, there's RNs out there in the southwest corner of Virginia who'd like to get a bachelor's degree, who are never gonna move up here. And so this is how we're gonna do it. You can increase your FTE, your student enrollment. It makes financial sense.
But it's, I mean, like a lot of things at George Mason, kind of entrepreneurial, kind of just organic. But then the structure has to follow, and we're building that. So you guys met Goodlett McDaniel, right? He's our vice provost of distance ed. You know, he just got that role last year. I mean, that job hasn't existed. So we're getting there. Yes, we're definitely.
Yeah, it's very typical across universities in the whole country that it does start from both ways. There will be an enlightened administration who says, we can get more students if we put our courses online, and they put pressure down from the top to get instructors to teach. Then you get the entrepreneurial pioneer who gets the bug and says, I want to do this, gets some support, sometimes no support, goes ahead, puts the course online, and then sometimes is able to draw colleagues in and show an example of, see, it's not hard, time consuming, but not hard, and this is a good thing to do. And sometimes having one leader breaks the ice and makes it possible for other people to see that this can happen. So typically it will come from one or other direction. Sometimes it comes from a provost, and they say, for the whole university, we are going to do this. But it's much more likely to be done at a department level where perhaps a dean will say, let's do this, or a program level.
Excuse me, just what we are saying, I'm the dean of the college, and we have decided in the college council that all of our classes should be blended learning, so then it worked for the last 3 years with 98% without any problem. The only 2 courses that they are elective courses, but we need a decision from the administrator that
And
one of the
faculty got right on board with that?
fine.
I think in
You don't
general,
tell faculty what to do a lot.
American faculty may be more rigidly independent.
And if anything smells like this is a way to make more money than to be good pedagogically, they're going to run from it, which I understand, right? So we need to, so this is where we kind of go into the assessment piece. So I've also tried to demonstrate some kind of parity between our classroom and that, you know, that we all know there's a variety of different classroom experiences, right? Not all of them are great. And that we can achieve the same outcomes with the online and the classroom face-to-face. There's nothing magical about the face-to-face necessarily, right? Because we all know there's pros and positive and negative experiences students have there. So in terms of the assessment, one of the things that motivated, actually there's several things that motivated me. One was that I wanted to demonstrate some parity with the face-to-face course. Okay, that in fact, we're not doing any harm to our students by doing this, okay? I also, obviously, in any course, you want to assess were the learning outcomes that you set out achieved by students. Okay, so that's something that regardless of what course we're dealing with, what kind of course and what delivery mode we want to pay attention to. We, from assessment, can learn from what works well and what doesn't work well. I mean, all faculty who care about learning have probably changed something about their course every semester because it's like, oh, that didn't really work very well. Let me try this, let me change this. And this can inform what kinds of things to change if you actually do more of a programmatic assessment. Now, in the School of Management, we also have to adhere to the AACSB, which is an accrediting body, and therefore they ask us to demonstrate assurance of learning, that our students have actually learned, and we have to really collect a lot of that information, which is also congruent with SACS, or the Southern Association of Schools and Colleges and something like that. Anyway, it says that George Mason can give degrees, okay, and we also need to then provide them information. So there's a lot of reasons to do assessment, and I've mapped them to the model that Patrol's put forth. Pedagogical, I mentioned, are we doing the right things? Are we learning the right, are we getting the right outcomes? Institutional, for us to maintain accreditation or accreditation both at the university level or at the college level. And then, just the evaluation piece of, how are students liking it? What's the students' reaction and perceptions? So while there's a lot of sort of guidance out there about assessment, I think that my advice would be to think about, what do you really want to know? What do you really want to know? What's really going to help you transform your course into something better? And in what ways can you collect actionable feedback? Meaning, am I going to collect a lot of information that at the end I won't really know what to do with it? Or can I think through ahead of time ways to assess that I'll actually be able to then say, oh, I need to make a change in a certain thing. Okay? So how are you going to use the results of the assessment? Now, at Mason, we have a really strong institutional assessment group. And over the summer, this group has actually really gotten us organized with regard to assessment and provide a lot of tools and infrastructure for us to do that. And I'm just so proud of it that I'm going to show it to you, even though I didn't do it. But it's just really a wonderful thing, I think, for faculty who are usually, not so interested in, like, kind of kicking and screaming about having to document the validity of the benefit of their course. So this is a course that I'm a member of because I teach online classes. And our institutional assessment group has created this course and given us step-by-step instructions about how to assess your DE course, your Distance Ed course, or any of your online courses. And so it's just, I just offer this as, maybe not the most perfect, but it was something that really helped me when I had to sit down and say, all right, how do I do my assessment? It gives you instructions about creating a course portfolio, step-by-step instructions. You do a cover sheet, and then you upload your syllabus, your assignments, some samples of student work, some samples of discussion board or blog, something like that would be fine, and then a faculty reflection piece, which gives you an opportunity to say, what are you going to do with the information that you've assessed? How is this actually going to help you transform your course? So I just point this out to you because this was very beneficial for me as a faculty member, not making this feel so onerous and me having to figure out myself. But anyway, those course portfolios can be very valuable in terms of assessment, both for the faculty to update the pedagogy and also for us to then aggregate and provide to our accrediting bodies. So portfolios include usually the learning outcomes for the course. What are your assignments? How do those assignments map to your learning outcomes? What are some examples of student work? In what ways have you shown, or can you show student work that's considered highly competent, etc.?
Excuse me?
Yes.
Since you can change your delivery method, can you change your assessment method also? I mean, can you avoid the final exam and put portfolios?
Oh, well, okay, this course portfolio I'm talking about is the faculty putting together a portfolio about the course. But in answer to your first point about, can I change how students are assessed? Definitely. I mean, unless you're dealing with a core course where everybody's got to fall in line to the exact same thing, which would be true for me, except I'm the only one that does this course. So I am the only, I am making sure it's consistent across all of Management 301. But in some of our courses, we might have, 4 or 5 faculty. And we don't want students to necessarily shop around or to have very inconsistent experiences. So in that case, we would ask faculty, okay, we're all going to do the same thing or have all the same percentage of written work versus multiple choice work, etc. So there may be some constraints with some faculty for that.
Excuse me, one of the major issues of concern back home, this time, is quality assurance. This is something that we're focusing on in all South universities now. Now, how do you align online teaching with the criteria of quality assurance? What does that look?
Is quality assurance a set thing, or are you just saying how do you demonstrate quality?
No, quality of education.
How do you assess and evaluate whether online courses that you're providing are in accordance with the criteria of quality assurance? Okay,
and that's the steps I'm going to walk through here for you. Yeah, for the assessment. And I don't think there's a magic answer. This is just how we're doing it. You really have to be careful about telling faculty how to teach their courses. Okay, that's a sensitive thing around here, in the U.S. So we've had to walk the line, and IRR, in other words, our institutional reporting and assessment group, has had to create the infrastructure and the templates, ask faculty to think about these things. And then we're going to have a second level review. So another faculty member from a different unit will look at their portfolio. But of debate just last week was, but what are they going to really say? Like, they didn't cover the material in the right way? Or are they going to say, they didn't address this in the portfolio?
Yeah.
And at this point, we're saying the latter. So if we evaluate your portfolio, it's, well, you didn't give any course outcomes. Okay, that's probably not good. I don't care what they are, because I don't even know your content matter, but you should have some. So it's going to be more around things like that. We don't want to say, you didn't teach this in the right way. It's did you think through all these elements of teaching best practices that we know from research? And you don't have to have all of them, but you should be incorporating some of these things. So here's what we're asked to do, is start with the learning outcomes. Okay, so be clear about what those learning outcomes are going to be. Put them in action words that can be demonstrated. And ensure that they are adequate coverage of the course. I mean, when I went through my assessment following this, I realized that I had in one of my course outcomes, I had covered 2 or 3 weeks of material. And then the other one, it was just 1 week of material. So it was sort of unbalanced. I had one course outcome that actually dealt with a whole lot more than was really represented there. And I realized, well, I probably need to break those down a little bit better. The other reason we want to do this is have those outcomes be the same. Okay, now you can get there different ways, but you should have the outcomes of the course be the same for online and face-to-face. So if we are clear about what those outcomes are supposed to be, how we get there may be different in our delivery mode, but we should end up in the same place. So these are just some examples.
So you should have 2 groups, one face-to-face and one online, and then you consider the difference?
Yes, right. And now again, with me, I do both. I do face-to-face and I do it online. So it's easy for me to kind of do all these comparisons because I don't have to get cooperation from anybody else. But our accrediting body has asked that the distance ed courses demonstrate that they measure up to the face-to-face.
And they did?
Yeah. Yes. Well, in the way I assessed it, I don't know if I have any graphs or charts here, but actually, just anecdotally, I found that my hybrid students, that is the people who watch it online and then come to face-to-face, versus my completely online students. Now, the numbers are completely different. In one case, I've got 400. In the other case, I have 70. But the online students did better on the exams. Same questions, but The online students had 6 modules worth of material because they only had a midterm and a final, where the the hybrid students had only 4 modules at a time. So you'd think that'd be easier, right? Because you're dealing with less information. So the question is why is that happening? I have my own theory or hypothesis from anecdotal comments that I hear from students. I think that a lot of times students who take the hybrid version feel like that hour and 15 minutes that they're in class is their class. And that all this online stuff is sort of supplemental extra. And unfortunately, the exams cover that stuff. And that the 1 hour and 15 minutes is not meant to be a lecture, and it's meant to broaden and deepen their knowledge of what we do in the lecture. So it assumes they have read and watched and participated in those online lectures before they get there. So, they can probably squeak by and try to participate on the face-to-face class and look like they're engaged, but when it comes to the exams, they're not going to do well if they've left out that whole half of the course.
But it's easy for the online to cheat.
No. The onlines, they come face-to-face.
They come face to
Yeah,
face.
the online.
So you know that,
Yep. Yes.
Online students have often self-selected because their personal learning style, the way they like to do things and fit everything in, fits in very well with an online delivery. And especially students taking 2nd and 3rd and 4th online classes generally have in the groove of time management, of focusing on getting everything done. And they generally put a lot more effort into their courses than the students who turn up for the hour and a quarter once a week.
How many times did you make this conclusion?
Let me see. We only have run, so last spring was the first time we did online and hybrid at the same time in the same semester with as many controls. So it was just that one semester.
So you think it's enough to...
That's what I know at this point. Again, it's my theory that like you're saying, the online students, they've chosen it, so they know they're getting into it, and also they realize this whole course is online. So everything that's there, that's what they're getting into. Whereas the hybrid, I think, sometimes they don't have a choice because there's not room in other places. So this may not be the best fit for them. They have to reserve time to do it. So we have some issues with that. Yeah.
Someone mentioned test taking, those companies that allow you to take tests. With our first cohort of RN and BSN students, they had in the library of their hospital a specific computer where they took the multiple choice exams. And the outcomes, so they were proctored, they were online. The outcomes were just like you'll find in the literature, that the learning outcomes are the same, that they did as well or better than students who sat and watched me every week. I used the same exam. And I thought it was startling and wonderful until I looked for what journal I would publish that in, and that was all over the place and everybody had found it already.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it's called the no significant difference phenomenon,
Right.
and there's a whole book about that.
Right.
Paige, what's the success percentage for the students? I think the same thing with Kathy. What was the results of the students? Did anybody fail the course?
Yeah.
Mhm.
How many?
Generally about 10 to 15% of my students don't get a C or better. And you need a C or better in this class or it doesn't count.
What's the percentage for the students who failed the course?
About 10 to 15%. Oh, you mean F?
yeah.
A classroom as opposed to
No, what's the
online.
C? Like for us,
C?
73, is it 70 for you? Or?
Oh, 70.
Well, the same thing with Kathy. Kathy, what was in your class?
70%.
What was the difference between the failure rate for online and the failure rate for classroom or hybrid?
That's a good question. Very good.
You lose about the same number of students in each online as you do?